With the number of cases of COVID-19 rising day over day, there's already been a huge impact on one sector of the economy. Luxury retailers are facing their worst crisis since the global financial meltdown of 2008. Chinese buyers make up 40% of the $407 billion spent on luxury goods globally. I mean, think about that. And that drives about 80% of sales growth in the sector. A number of big name brands like Louis Vuitton, Gucci already reporting a big drop in sales. And a third of Burberry stores in China are closed. Retail expert Doug Stevens is joining us now. Those are some big numbers, Doug.
Yeah, it's huge. It's impossible to underestimate the degree to which luxury brands have become dependent on China. And in fact, for some luxury brands, all of their revenue growth and profit growth over the last number of years has been coming from Chinese consumers. So now they're being dealt sort of I'll call it a quadruple whammy, because first of all, the Chinese domestic consumer, the luxury consumer within China, they're out of commission. That's ground to a halt. Chinese retail tourism, so Chinese citizens traveling abroad and buying in places like Paris and Tokyo and London, that's ground to a halt. We also have a stock market hit now, so high net worth individuals, they're seeing their incomes being disrupted, so that's going to affect their behavior as it pertains to luxury spending. And then finally, on the supply chain side, we can't forget that a lot of these brands depend on Chinese factories to actually manufacture those goods, and that could show up in problems in the fall with supply.
Yeah, with the trickle-down effect for sure.
Exactly.
And then you think about, so that's sort of from the company perspective. When you look at the buyer, the person who is physically walking into these stores and buying, when they hear an outbreak and they know COVID-19 is everywhere at this point, what does that do to a shopper psychologically?
I think it just naturally makes us think maybe I shouldn't be in public spaces.
Sure.
So that trip to the shopping center or just down the main street in your city to go shopping, I think people are becoming more reluctant to those things. And when we're reading these news reports about this spread and the potentially deadly effects of this virus, I think people are saying, you know what, I'm just going to stay out of public as much as possible.
When you think about, going off of what you just said, if people don't want to go out in public, there's lots of fear going on. So is the counter to that people potentially buying online more, or are luxury brands just don't operate that way? It's more of a bricks and mortar feel to the purchase.
That's a really good point, because luxury players have sort of painted themselves into a bit of a corner here, because for most brands, you're absolutely right. The consumer might stay home, they might just shop online more, and so the effect for some brands and some categories might be less. Luxury players have resisted the temptation to go online in many cases. They have not made their goods accessible to consumers.
It's more of an experience?
Exactly, yeah. It's a high service, high touch kind of experience. So here they are now in a time when they could really use those online sales. Many of them are not set up for it.
So that's luxury brands. In terms of, everybody else out there, what sort of effect are we seeing?
Well, I think we're going to see an effect across the board. I think that all of the same conditions that we just talked about, people being impacted by falling stock market prices, people concerned about just being out in public, potentially contracting this virus, that's going to have an impact on retailers, shopping centers, and everyone in the supply chain.
Doug, we appreciate your insight this morning. Thanks so much for stopping by your morning here this morning. All right, now it is over to Anne Marie. Thanks.